Hey, everybody, what's up?
It's that time again.
It's Wednesday. It's 3 p.m. and we're Jewelry This Way live.
You should know by now. It's been a year.
It's been a year.
A whole year.
Yeah, that's wild. Can you guys believe that we've been doing this for a whole year now?
We barely can.
Yeah, it kind of blew our minds when we realized it this week.
Just a little bit, especially when we sat down to start doing this and we kind of forgot what we were doing.
Yeah, it happens. But this is super fun.
I'm so excited.
I am so appreciative of the 5 people that tune in and watch this every week.
Right.
We're going to keep doing it anyway because we just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we have fun and we like watching movies, and why not?
We still have so many movies to go through.
Yeah,
and I swear every time we get close to closing the gap a little, we add more products and then we have 30 new movies to watch.
Yeah, constantly.
So,
it's a problem. It's a great problem to have.
It's the best problem to have in this instance.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have ADHD and I cannot sit still. So creating is
perfect.
My boo.
Oh, I'm so excited.
We're always making new stuff. What new displays this week?
Perfect segue.
Even again, look at these little tiny guys.
They're so perfect.
Yeah, they come in 2 different sizes. We got them in 4-inch and 6-inch versions. These are the 4-inch versions. They have that same insert that our large mixtape displays have, so they're going to hold those threadless ends super duper secure. They're going to be spill proof like the big guys, so that way all your jewelry stays in place. But they come in little smaller versions, so these guys are awesome.
They're so stinky cute. They're
cute.
Slightly bigger than hand size.
Yeah,
I have small hands,
perfect.
so that's not really a good reference.
20 ends on these.
And they look so good.
They look so good.
They're perfectly angled, so in the case you can see everything perfectly.
Yeah, 30 degrees. What's up? I Googled it. That said that's the perfect amount of degrees to display jewelry. So
I think it is.
Here we are.
I think it is. And they're a fantastic price point. Oh my God.
Yes. And now we're displaying with power.
I just knew Derek would come through with a good one.
Yeah. The Power Glove is now an official part of this live stream, by the way. I think I'm just going to wear it every week.
Indefinitely.
Yeah, just because it's fun. Why not?
Really draws the 80s theme into it.
That it does. Let's see, what else? Did we drop any new pieces this week? I feel like we did, but I don't remember what they are.
Did we?
I don't know. We've been doing so much casting lately.
My brain's kind of goo. I've done videos all day long today, and now I don't know anything else.
Let's see, we got 30 degrees. These displays are cold as fuck. Yes, they are. Ice cold, some might say.
Nice and frosted.
Yeah, because what's cooler than never mind. So yeah, it's been a year, and I got a little thing for you. One year later. Yay! Happy anniversary to us.
I love the little cats at the end. That was great.
I can't stop putting cats in videos now.
It's hard not to when there are so many options for little cat stickers to put on things.
Yeah.
It's kind of necessary at a point.
They are. And they're adorable. We love
they're
them.
amazing.
We have cat jewelry too.
And we're expanding the cat collection.
We sure are.
There's more than just Milo now. There's this cool cat face that's all detailed, and we have it in rose gold and yellow gold.
We sure do. I've even got a cool little design that hasn't dropped yet, but it's going to be of a kitty doing some cleaning, worshiping the Dark Lord.
Oh, I love.
So it's going to be super cute.
I feel like I know where you're going with that.
Really excited.
Oh, I can't wait.
Welcome in everybody that's joining.
Hello.
This is the most amount of viewers we have ever had. I think I just saw the number get up to 8.
Whoa.
So, big day here.
Yep.
I'm glad you guys were here to see it, and we just lost one. But hey, whatever. I don't blame you.
I run away when I'm conflicted too. I don't think all of you were here. We dropped new displays.
Yes,
look at these cutie little guys.
Super cute.
And they're spill proof, just like our other displays. So
you
can get on that. They're a fantastic price.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're awesome.
Yeah, and they're a lot like those little displays that you get those little faux leather things for cheap off the internet, and they hold some. They hold some stuff in there, kind of whatever. These are just that better version of them, that it'll actually hold the ends in place, and they're solid plastic too, so they're not going to degrade over time or break apart. Nothing's going to peel off of them. There's no logos on them either,
Nope.
so you know
Don't have to worry about the
you don't have to
branding
rep us by any means.
aspect.
You can put anybody's jewelry on there that you want to, because I do not care.
We have black and white right now,
We sure
but
do.
we could do cool colors.
Yeah, we can do them in
Anyone
like that
wants cool
Technicolor
colors.
Dreamstorm. We've got that hyper
Pink?
neon pink. We've got some laser green. We've got
Gosh.
We've got a couple colors. You'll see them on the website. They are up on the website now and live. If you just go to the display section, that's where they're at, because they're displays.
And y'all are the first to know, so first dibs.
Yep. Second to know, actually.
Oh,
our,
yes,
protein
yes.
members were the first ones to know, because that's the perk they get. So yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we jump into it?
I think we should. It's our
Cool.
1 year anniversary, and
Yeah.
we picked the most 80s of 80s movies.
We sure did.
So
We'll be right back.
One of them is old, the other is not. Let's pop in the tape and give it a shot. It's time for Retro Reactions with Drew and Bryan.
And we're back.
oh my goodness, we're on
And
top now.
We're on top. What's up?
1 year later.
1 year
we got
later,
bumped up.
we bumped up to the top. Why? Because we realized that
You probably
the
couldn't see us
words
this whole time.
come down on the bottom, and you couldn't see us, which originally made sense when this was more of like a jewelry showcase show, but we're
It's
just talking about
evolved.
movies now. So
Yeah.
like, you probably want to see us instead of just see a static image of a.
Or at least we're
our
making
thing.
that assumption.
Yeah,
Y'all let
yeah.
us know if you'd prefer to see the.
Yeah, I would love to throw some video clips in there. We're learning about the legalities of all that, but maybe
getting there.
Maybe that'll be there sometime soon. So until then, you just have to pretend.
Yeah.
You're
Well, I mean,
watching the
we're going to
movies with
explain
us.
it to you really well, so you'll get
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. So if you haven't guessed it from the picture that you see down below, our movie today is The Breakfast Club from 1985. Excellent movie.
I mean, it's one of the most iconic coming of age movies I think that's ever been made,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
this is the one everyone talks about at least.
Yes.
So this movie has been analyzed in, I don't know, probably your high school English class to some degree, quoted for decades, referenced in at least every TV show that makes a reference. And it's probably the first movie people think of when they say, I want to watch an 80s teens movie.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's really interesting because next to nothing happens in this.
Nothing.
Next
Yeah.
to nothing.
But it's still wonderful.
Yeah. Like there's no crazy car chase. There's no huge plot twist. The set, really not that elaborate. Unless you consider
Kind
that
of.
really
we'll
elaborate.
get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get there. And the entire movie succeeds because of the characters and the dialogue.
100%.
Like that's really the bulk of it.
Yeah. I feel like it was a really risky movie to make. If your characters aren't interesting, like you've got nothing, right?
Right.
You're basically asking the audience to sit in one room for an hour and a half while teenagers talk. And to me, that sounds like hell.
Right.
Luckily, John Hughes nailed it and made it work. I think this movie's also aged in a really interesting way. Like some parts feel very timeless, and some parts are very much a product of the 80s.
Definitely.
And that's what makes revisiting it so much fun, is seeing which themes still connect and which ones still feel like they're from another era. Yeah. So the movie starts out with this cool opening montage, and we get some character introductions, right?
So, we could walk on.
Yeah, movie opens up. We're early on a Saturday morning. 5 students arrive separately at Shermer High School for an all-day detention. Hold on 1 second here. I gotta go over here to click a thing. So, fun fact about that: Shermer, Illinois, where Shermer High School is, not a real city. I found that out in high school with a friend when we were trying to plan a road trip to go visit Shermer and all of the, because like you
just go to a random
you've
place.
got Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. I want to say Pretty in Pink. Like they all are in Shermer, Illinois. They're all in this fictitious suburb of Chicago, basically.
This should be a wonderful city to visit then.
Yeah, well, every suburb in Chicago sucks. Anyhow, it's like I always wanted to go to Aurora, Illinois when I was a kid because that's where Wayne and Garth were from in Wayne's World. And then like I finally went to Aurora and was like, this is just a boring suburb.
I don't think I've ever heard of a suburb of Illinois I've wanted to go to.
Yeah, it's best. So, so anyhow, we're back at all day detention on a Saturday, right?
The worst.
Before all these kids even meet each other, which you would think they kind of know each other from school already a little bit, but maybe not. Anyhow, we learn a little bit about each of them simply by watching how they arrive with their parents.
I think the opening kind of gives an incredible amount of information without actually saying anything. You can really sit there and like look at it, dissect it, and figure it out. But you watch each student get dropped off, and you can kind of immediately make a few assumptions. Like Claire, for example, gets dropped off in a really nice car. Andrew's father is really intense.
Very intense.
Brian's parents are polite, but they like blatantly are just on top of the academics. That's all they want to talk about. John Bender just shows up alone.
Yep.
You know, Allison arrives completely disconnected from everyone in her own world as well. And before they ever introduce themselves, you've kind of already started to figure out who's who and who's in what box.
Mm-hmm. And that's super intentional. You know,
Right.
the movie wants us to stereotype all of the characters just like they stereotype each other in the movie. Because that's what high school does.
You got to get a click, you know? You click
like,
up.
You look at someone's clothes, you look at who they hang out with. Are they athletic? Are they quiet? Are they nerdy? Are they a goth? Like, your brain just immediately fills in the blanks. And this entire movie is about challenging those assumptions. Even the way that the parents speak to them tells us what kind of pressure each kid carries into school, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Claire's father who treats detention like an inconvenience that should not apply to someone like her because she's very upper class, right?
Someone like her.
Yes. We got Andrew's father who is mostly concerned about how detention will affect his athletic reputation because
You know, those football players are always the
Yeah.
standard.
Brian's mother is like, now you need to remember to be productive today and learn a lesson and work on your schoolwork, you know? So these parents are never asking like, what happened? Why are you doing this? They're just reminding the children which role that they're expected to continue playing in their family.
You know, I don't think I thought of it that way, but that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And you know, after that, we kind of get into it a little more. We get Mr. Vernon, and he's in there laying down some rules. The students are going to gather inside the library where the vice principal, Richard Vernon, is going to explain how detention works. And he's going to have them write this essay describing who they think they are. He warns them not to move, not to speak, not to cause any trouble. And then he just kind of leaves for most of the day, as a vice principal would.
You know what? This reminds me, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns every time. Every time. So many good quotes in this movie.
Honestly. And you know, Mr. Vernon is fascinating because he clearly believes that he needs to maintain a certain level of order within his school. From his perspective, these are terrible, troubled kids who are in desperate need of some discipline. And he's not really trying to understand why they're there. He doesn't even really address the why. He's just, you know, he's assigned the job of controlling them. And
He's like a prison warden.
Quite literally, that's the best way to assume him. And, you know, the essay assignment is very revealing as well. He asks them to explain who they think they are. I mean, asking a high schooler who they think they are is probably the worst idea.
That could change like every day.
And his behavior kind of suggests that he's decided the answer and that better be in the essay.
And that was triggering to me because I always felt like through most of my childhood, like adults were rarely asking you a question. They already knew the answer. They were just trying to guide you to their answer that was the correct one.
And they always had trick questions.
Always trick questions.
Always a trick question. They wanted you to answer and lie.
Yeah.
Hate that.
So Vernon never actually tries to understand any of these kids. He already thinks that he knows who they are. You know, Bender, criminal. Claire, spoiled. Brian is a nerd. Andrew is the athlete. And then you got Allison, who is, she just weird, right? Yeah. He is almost the adult version of what the students are doing to each other because he's his own little stereotype in his own, right?
Obviously.
He only sees categories. He doesn't see people. And I feel like that makes him a really important part of this movie. He represents the future that these kids are afraid of, right? Like they do not want to become this asshole.
They want to be nothing like him.
Yeah, he's an adult who has completely forgot what it felt like to be young and frustrated. And that's just lame.
Yeah.
So,
you know, and once Vernon leaves, nobody really knows what to do besides write this essay that no one wants to do because they're a bunch of high schoolers on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And the students mostly just kind of ignore each other. They sit there trying to do stuff, staring at each other across the library. And there's some weird tension that builds. Some personalities begin emerging. You know, not everyone can sit in silence all day long.
I sure can't.
And the whole scene feels incredibly real. I didn't have Saturday detentions, but I had in-school detentions. And I'll tell you what, you just kind of sit there making sounds when you get to a certain point. And nobody immediately has these like deep conversations. No one's really trying to get to know each other. Everyone waits for somebody else to make the first move because, you know, they're all nervous high schoolers. And they're just kind of studying each other, pretending like they're not.
Yep. And of course, that person's Bender. Because Bender cannot physically allow silence to exist. And I feel you, buddy.
Me too.
So he does what he does. You know, he starts poking at people almost immediately. He starts poking the bear because he wants some reactions. He's not trying to start any type of meaningful conversations. He just knows how to control the room by making everybody really uncomfortable. And it's an impressive skill set, to be honest.
You know?
But if he keeps everybody reacting to him, then nobody gets that chance to examine him too closely. And that's really what he wants, is
he doesn't want anyone to look at him.
Yeah. He's got an image to uphold.
Goodness.
Yeah.
So Bender begins provoking the entire room. He's making jokes. He's insulting authority. He's pushing every button he can find. And he targets Bryan and Claire constantly. Not to mention, every time Vernon comes to do a check-in, he's on it.
Yep.
He's ready to mess with him.
Which I like.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think Bender is probably the easiest character to misunderstand. Possibly. On the surface, he sounds like just a loudmouth troublemaker, but the more he talks, the more obvious it becomes that everything he says is kind of a defense move. He's very defensive of everything, and he's constantly on the attack.
Yeah.
He likes to humiliate people before they can decide that he's beneath them, just to feel a little better about himself.
Yeah. And eventually, you know, we find out a little bit more about his family life and things, and that explains a lot about
Just
this,
a
you know. So anyhow, he's incredibly observant, right?
yeah.
He notices everyone's insecurities like instantly. It's his superpower of picking them out. He understands that Claire is sensitive about being seen as spoiled. He knows that Andrew is hiding behind his, physical confidence and his ability to be a big athlete guy. He sees Bryan as like an easy super target because Bryan is a nerd who really just wants everyone to like him and he wants approval from everyone. But instead of trying to use that insight to connect with people, he just weaponizes it, right? And later, like I said, when we learn about his home life, his behavior all starts to make more sense. It doesn't excuse how cruel he can be.
He's kind of a shithead.
Yeah, but it explains why cruelty has become his like preferred form of self-protection, right? It's the only thing that's helped him survive his household.
Right.
It's sad.
So, and then, you know, it's because he's picking on everyone. You start to get into some of the other characters. Like Bryan, he's mostly staying quiet during the early part of the tension. He wants to follow the rules, avoid conflict, and he's just repeatedly trying to keep the peace anytime an argument breaks out.
Yes.
So you can imagine Bryan and Bender, they're butting
yeah.
some heads.
Yeah, Bryan is the type where his trauma is trying to manage everyone in the room's emotions. When
He's got to make sure everyone's
emotion
happy.
get elevated, he's like, ooh, I got to step in and keep the peace. So
Neutralizer.
yeah.
And I mean, Bryan's pretty interesting. He's kind of the least complicated character. He's smart. He's a rule follower. He's got the brains. And underneath it, he's just carrying a ton of pressure, which is, I think, relevant for any high schooler. He believes grades are the only reason anyone values him.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Bryan is probably the most relatable character as an adult. Not only do we share a name, my spelling's better, but we share a name. But his entire identity is all built around achievement, right?
Yeah.
He is terrified of disappointing people. And that's a form of anxiety that doesn't always look dramatic from the outside, but inside, like, he's a mess, man.
Oh,
and this is
internal panic to the max.
And this is because, I mean, this happens a lot. You know, everyone assumes that the smart kid has it super easy because he's doing well in school. But you don't know that behind the scenes, the only reason that they're doing well in school is because their parents are making their lives nightmares and they're telling them, like, this is the only value you have. And if you're not doing that thing, like, you're a failure. So Bryan has no idea who he is without being good at school, you know? And that makes like even a very small failure feel like this collapse of his entire identity.
Oh yeah, this detention is like world ending for him.
Yeah.
And you know, we get a little more into it. The kids are now arguing with each other consistently enough that Vernon has to come in and confront everything. And Bender just continues escalating until Vernon finally drags him into the hallway.
Because these were the years of corporal punishment.
Yeah. Back when you could just grab kids. And instead of calming things down, the confrontation only reinforces Bender's resentment towards him. and authority and earns him these like additional weeks and weeks of detention. I mean, it's just a back and forth of who can piss who off.
Do you want more? Do you want to come next Saturday? Yes. Like, I get it, man. Oof. My anti-authority is strong, and I would probably do the same thing and then come out and be like, God damn it, I have detention for the next half a year.
Like, I'm so screwed now. But like, it pissed him off, so it was worth it.
Yeah.
And then, I noticed this time that neither Vernon nor Bender knows how to de-escalate anything.
Not a bit.
They know how to escalate further, but neither of them can really solve anything, and no one is trying to solve anything. Vernon just keeps adding more detention because he believes that the punishment will eventually force Bender to submit. Bender keeps provoking him because refusing to submit is the only power he has, and it's obviously pissing Vernon off.
Yeah. Nothing but a power struggle here.
It's two bulls ramming heads. Like, it's
is.
all it is.
Yeah, it's like watching two people who are really, really similar. Like, obviously, Vernon thinks that he is like this incredible guy who gets to wear a suit and make $40,000 a year, you know? And Bender is this burnout guy. But, like, they have the same personalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're both stubborn. They're both proud. They both are egotistical. Neither one of them wants to ever back down. And then the darker part, I feel, comes when Vernon gets Bender alone and threatens him.
It gets far too intense.
Right? Like, Vernon knows that Bender can't fight back without making his own situation worse. So it really exposes something ugly about Vernon, I think.
It's terrible. It made me like really, like, I went from being like, oh, Vernon's like this burnout principal who like is dealing with some bad kids to like, oh my God, Vernon needs to get away from children.
Yeah.
Indefinitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he acts like his authority is based on maturity, but when no one else is watching, just intimidation.
Yeah.
Bender could be, he's disruptive, but Vernon's the adult in the room. You know, he should know better. He shouldn't just try to like lead by fear, because that never works out well.
No, and it gets so progressively worse with the two of them.
Yeah.
You know, and we go around, and around like lunchtime, we see that the students all have food that they brought from home. And what seems like a small comedic break becomes another way the movie reveals extreme differences in like the family life, social class, and personality of each kid.
Absolutely.
You know, the thing I really like about the lunch scene, because the food tells us so much about the characters without turning into this like crazy speech, cracked me up when Claire pulled out sushi for lunch.
Right?
And like, that just immediately was on a whole new level from everyone.
I remember in the 80s. Like, that would still be weird today. Seeing a high school movie and a kid pulls out like a sushi tray and stuff.
Like,
yeah,
that's not something you like pull out for a lunch at school.
No, it's
That's
not a
something you go to
detention lunch.
dinner and eat. Like, come on. And so she has this carefully prepared sushi lunch, and you know, Andrew brought enough food to feed like a whole football team. This kid pulled out snack after snack after snack after snack.
Yeah, he's the guy you want to be friends with, to be honest.
Quite literally. That's the trade value right there.
Yep.
And, you know, Brian has this very ordinary, organized bag lunch. It's, you know, the most standard bagged lunch you could think
You
of.
got all your food groups reported and, you know, there, like it's,
Food pyramid to the max. And then, you know, you get to Allison, who has probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen and made me just not want to eat. And I think everyone on set thought the same thing watching her make this. But she dumps some cereal and sugar onto bread. And
not just sugar, pixie sticks.
It gets worse the more I think about it. And she dumped so many things on 2 pieces of bread, smacked it together, and ate it.
And
after like slurping her Coke off the counter when it overflowed. I thought I wanted to skip it. I couldn't skip it, but I wanted to skip it.
She committed to the bit.
In the longest form. That was a yes and to the max.
Yep.
And then, you know, you've got Bender, who doesn't have anything at all.
No.
I
find this scene is super funny, but it also quietly reinforces everything that we now know about their lives. Yeah. Claire's lunch reflects money, presentation, and the fact that her family probably treats appearances as very important. I also think that it shows that her family doesn't necessarily care about proper refrigeration for sushi. Because thinking about the fact that she had to sit there half a day through school while her sushi just sits there at room temperature. Like I think back to like grade school going on field trips, and like mom would send you with like a sandwich. It was like bologna and cheese and shit. And then it would sit in this hot ass bus for hours.
Like
and you come back and it's sweaty.
sweating.
It's wet. Everything's moist. And you're like, God damn it. I just wish I had like Lunchables.
And so she's got sushi.
Yeah.
So just sweaty fish.
Oh, just sweaty fish.
Sweaty raw fish.
Yeah. So Andrew's lunch, it reflects the physical demands that are placed on him, right? Like his
'Cause
body
he's
is
an
like
athlete, guys.
athletic equipment, and he's got to get his calories and his macros, and I don't know what else because I'm not that guy. Brian's lunch reflects his personality and his family. It's very practical. It's very controlled. He seems like me, where like he just eats the same food every day for the same meals, and he's perfectly okay with it.
So I had the same thought whenever Bender asked him, "What'd you bring for lunch?" And he goes, "Just your standard bag lunch." And I was like, he has the same meal every day.
Yeah.
Like I can pretty much guarantee that's just a repeat for food on that house.
But as a nerd who got bullied in high school and grade school and stuff, that would have been an answer I would have given too, because I'm trying to let him know, like it's trying to like diffuse the situation and be like, oh, my lunch, it's boring. You don't want any of this without telling him that, it's his defense mechanism. You got Allison's food. It's bizarre, but
performance art, maybe
it's performative in a way. She hasn't
she
said
made
a damn
lot
thing,
of eye
right?
contact eating that sandwich
Yeah,
too.
like
Let's talk about that.
She just doesn't talk most of the movie, and she enjoys making people very uncomfortable.
She's sitting in the back staring everybody down.
She has that thought process in her head of like, well, negative attention is still attention, and I like that. And that's something her and Bender kind of have in common, in my opinion. Bender, his lack of food just reminds us that the differences between these kids aren't merely just social, right? Like some of them come from way safer homes, way more stable homes, way more money. Bender's, nobody even cared that this kid didn't have any food.
No one wanted
They
to
just
drop him
dropped
off.
Yeah,
No one wanted to feed him.
Screw you. So Bender mocks Claire for being on the opposite end of his spectrum, right? And for being privileged because her normal life represents something he's never had. And instead of,
room
wanting to do that,
temperature
it's just, you just make fun of it.
That's what I would
It's
do.
high school.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's high school. And eventually, the students, they decide they're going to sneak out of the library, and Bender leads them through the hallways to retrieve some marijuana from his locker. Exactly what you'd expect him to be doing.
Yeah.
And their trip through the empty school becomes the first activity that they kind of take together.
Yeah.
I really like this section because it's the first time they actually function successfully as a group.
Yes, yeah.
It's the first couple minutes where they're not all arguing. And no longer is it 5 strangers sitting in these assigned seats. Now they're moving throughout the school, trying not to get caught. Even though Bender caused the situation, everyone becomes invested in his escape from it.
Because everyone wants to get stoned.
Yeah. That's the guy with the weed.
The weed is the one thing that brings everyone together in this movie. And I think that's a really good message.
Which is so crazy because this is, again, an 80s movie.
Yeah. Weed has actually been around since 1973.
I mean,
earlier.
It's been around for ever, but I just didn't expect them to blatantly give children weed in a movie in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, that's when kids have weed. So anyhow, shared rule breaking, it changes the dynamic of everyone, right?
Oh, 100%.
Before this, they all pretend like Bender, he's the delinquent in the room.
The only one.
Yeah, but once they follow him out, they're participating in this too.
Now they're the bad kids.
Yeah, and Vernon nearly catches them. But Bender takes the blame and he sends the others back to the library. And there's this cool chase scene where they're dodging down hallways and hiding behind lockers and things. And
the chase
just barely
scene.
messaging him. Yeah, and it's also weird because this scene, it never ever acknowledges the sound of feet in an empty high school hallway.
Or these squeaky hallway floors.
Yeah, somehow everyone is silent moving, which is really impressive. Right?
It was extremely impressive. And what really got me was the way Allison decided to stand against the lockers and just watch it all happen.
Yes, yeah.
Love her for that.
But Bender doing this is a kind of an important moment. For all of his insults and all of his selfish behavior, he protects all of these people. He makes sure that they don't get in trouble more.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first clues I think that we get that the version of Bender that he performs isn't actually who he is.
There's a little soft side to Bender.
Yeah.
After taking responsibility for the hallway escape, Bender is locked in a storage closet with Vernon. Dangerous. And he eventually escapes through the ceiling, secretly returning to the library where he hides beneath Claire's desk.
Yeah. And let's not forget to mention that he falls through the ceiling.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's a drop
Causes
ceiling.
quite a ruckus.
Oh, a huge ruckus.
A huge ruckus, if you will. And this gives Bender a strange kind of victory. Vernon believes he is in this isolated, controlled environment that he left him in this tiny little closet. And Bender refuses to stay kind of where he's been placed by climbing through the ceiling and returning to the group anyways. And you get this exaggerated moment of him falling through. He's hiding from Vernon, who's come in to see what all this ruckus is about. And now he's under the desk.
Yep.
You know?
I feel for Bender. I feel like his entire life is just like surviving places where adults try to trap him.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's done that probably since he was a kid. The closet becomes a literal version of that. You know, he has been punished, he's been dismissed, and literally shoved out of sight.
Taken from detention and placed in a closet is like a crazy next step.
Right? Like that's getting thrown in solitary, you know?
Yeah.
And we know that's cruel and unusual punishment. But he finds a way back in, you know, and the scene beneath Claire's desk is one of those moments that has aged so awkwardly.
Right.
The movie plays it as like sexual comedy, but today it's very invasive, uncomfortable, and a little creepy. But that's part of Bender's character too. Like he's never been taught what's right. His vulnerability does not prevent him from violating other people's boundaries. And understanding his trauma cannot mean that we are ignoring the harm that he causes, but it does explain it a little bit.
Just a bit.
So-
And, you know, the whole group continues protecting him the whole time he's under the desk.
Yeah.
Including Claire. Like, she gave him plenty of shit for it afterwards, though. So, in all defense. But he got away with it somehow, and now he's back in the library.
And I think they stuck up for him because they knew he had weed.
I think so. That, and I mean, he did kind of take the fall for everybody. But,
Yeah.
like, you know, there's some wins and some losses there. So we get back in the library, and Vernon is now gone, not worrying about the ruckus, and Bender decides it's time to light up.
Blaze up.
It's time. After some hesitation, you know, one by one, everyone kind of follows him to the back of the library to join in, and the personalities loosen, conversations become a little more honest, and the atmosphere shifts quite dramatically. You know, kind of like it does anytime you blaze up.
And we get, crap, I forgot his name already, the athletic guy.
Brian?
Bad with names. But he
Brian,
instantly
Brian's
looks
third.
at him and he's like, hey, wastoid, you're not going to blaze up in here.
He had the best like names and like comments when he was trying to be
Yes.
mean to people.
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
god, it was hilarious.
Yeah, just the insults just don't hit like they used to.
I mean, this scene is just so blatantly 1985
It's
in
so-
so
yeah.
many ways. What matters narratively isn't really the marijuana, but everybody kind of finally drops their performance. These like high school rigid standards that they're using. They start to move around. They start to laugh. Someone starts doing flips, you know, and they stop sitting in the exact social positions that they occupied when the day originally started. They start actually kind of intermingling.
Yep. I think this scene is a little unrealistic
Oh, 100%.
in the way that I don't think that Brian would have smoked weed. I think he would have been too scared. I think he would have worried it was going to screw up his academic future, et cetera, et cetera.
But he had the glasses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad he did. It helped him out a lot.
Oh, 100%.
So,
You know, peer pressure.
yeah, we all give in eventually. So the stereotypes, they all begin disappearing. The athlete stops acting tough.
Gets a little emotional.
Yeah. The princess stops acting untouchable. The brain stops trying to have all the answers. And finally, they're just teenagers being teenagers, you know, just being stoned and ridiculous, which is
A little
great.
goofy, a little silly.
Andrew gets this sudden burst of energy and starts dancing around, and he's really funny because he spent like his entire movie trying to stay controlled, and then we get like him jumping up and be like,
Dude,
like thing. So good.
his
so good.
little like sprint runs
Yes.
were killing me. He was like skipping through everything, and then he was doing flips.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I thought he was a gymnast for a minute, but he's definitely not a gymnast.
No.
But he's throwing his body all around all crazy.
Yeah. But you know, the weed, it does what it's supposed to do. It pulls the boundaries down. It breaks the walls down a little bit. Everyone forgets about how they're supposed to be behaving, and they're just themselves, which is the first time that we get to see this in the movie.
And while all of that's happening, away from the students, Vernon and Carl, the school janitor, are having a lovely little conversation in what looks like another closet. Vernon complains that these teenagers have just changed so much, and he's insistent that students no longer respect authority the way they once did. And Carl, the janitor, is really challenging him on all of that, which Carl's the voice of reason in this whole movie.
He sure is.
Love Carl.
Yep.
And, he's telling Vernon, like, hey, man, you need to not be such a hard ass.
Yeah. I love that there's just the wise janitor.
Oh, yeah.
Great character.
It's a really short scene, but it is one of the more important scenes in the movie. I mean, Vernon is blatantly saying that these kids are disrespectful, arrogant, they don't care, they've changed so drastically. And Carl is like, hey, man, this is kind of always how teenagers are. They're kind of always the worst. They're teenagers.
And that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. And he reminds Vernon that, like, Vernon is, in fact, older and more bitter and less willing to understand them because he's also aged and changed.
Yeah. Carl sees the school very differently because he's mostly invisible in the school. Teachers and students, they talk around him and they act like he's not really there because he's, lesser than them. But this gives him this really clear view and insight of everyone around him. He knows
so wise.
Yeah, he knows the secrets. He knows the students are difficult.
He's in on the gossip from every angle.
Yeah. He knows that Vernon has stopped seeing them as human beings. And Vernon is afraid that these kids are going to grow up and take care of him someday. And that line reveals that his anger is partly fear. He's not just simply frustrated with the teenagers. He's afraid of becoming irrelevant and being dependent on other people. So Carl's response suggests that the real danger is not that the kids are going to become bad adults. It's that adults like Vernon have forgotten that they were kids once themselves. What a wise janitor.
Gosh. You can always look to the janitor for good advice. And, as the afternoon continues on, because they're here all day long, the group gathers together and they begin opening up about why they are in detention. It takes quite a while for us to actually get to the why.
Yeah. Yep.
And what their lives are kind of like outside of school. And this becomes the true emotional centerpiece of the movie. Like, this is where the movie is moving to the max.
Yes.
Everything before this kind of builds to the conversation. You have a million questions that are now being answered. And everyone starts admitting that their lives aren't exactly what people assume. Andrew talks about living under the impossible expectations of his father. Claire admits popularity comes with its own set of invisible pressure. Allison reveals how invisible she is. And Bryan shares why one bad grade pushed him towards complete and utter despair, while Bender finally talks about his abuse at home.
Yeah. It's
pretty brutal.
It's a hard-hitting scene.
Yeah. And it's quiet. This whole movie is fairly loud, and it sounds like a bunch of teens in a room together, and then you get to this and it is so quiet.
Yeah, it's like going into therapy.
You feel like you're in the library with them. It's so silent.
Yeah. I love that no one suddenly becomes a different person, right? Like,
not at all.
We find out all of this about them, but they're still themselves. Like, they're just finally honest. And that's a huge difference. And not only are they honest, they're honest to other people that they would not usually converse with ever in any other circumstances. Like, they would never go up to these people in school and talk to them.
Say that they will not talk to each other half the time.
Yeah.
I won't talk to you outside of this.
Yep. Andrew's confession is particularly important because he admits that he bullied another student in the locker room.
Rude.
He taped the boys' butt cheeks together because he wanted his dad to think he was tough. Let that sink in.
It's a crazy thing to just try to do or even succeed in doing. That's just a crazy thing to think about doing in general.
Yeah, just to be sitting around and be like, man, I want dad to think I'm cool. What if I tape the nerds' butt cheeks together?
I'm a jock. I think taping butt cheeks together is what's going to really just show everyone that I'm the guy.
So thankfully, Andrew understands that what he did was pretty cruel. He's not in detention because of a misunderstanding. He hurt somebody, and not just physically, but emotionally and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the movie shows that how his father's pressure really taught him to confuse cruelty with strength. So.
And, we get some good confessions out of Claire. Her situation's completely different. Let's start there. Her problems appear far less serious because she is wealthy and popular, and she's trapped between parents who use her as a weapon in their own conflict, and also a social status control issue. People kind of tell her what to do, and she just kind of does it. She admits that she definitely won't speak to any of these people on Monday because she's afraid that her friends will think poorly of her if she does. And while it doesn't make her evil, makes her weak in a very believable way.
Yeah.
You know, like we all knew the popular girl who was cool with everyone, but definitely didn't talk to everybody.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely had a girl in high school that like we went out on a couple of dates and stuff, but she was just very adamant of like, you tell no one at school about this.
You're invisible unless
and
we're
just, like,
together.
very different social classes. Anyhow, Allison might be the hardest person to read because she mixes truth with performance.
No one really knows what she's talking about,
Right.
but she's saying things.
She claims that she's just in detention because she didn't have anything better to do. She tells outrageous stories. She watches everyone react. She tells them that she's an alcoholic. Like she just drinks straight vodka all the time, and that she's like very promiscuous and just does all
She
these
just
crazy
starts
things.
saying things, and the
Yeah.
more they react,
Yeah.
the more she leans into
Yeah.
it.
And then all of a sudden she's like, and I'm a compulsive liar. And we're like, oh.
And it's so funny because
Okay.
you kind of believe her leading up to this, and she says it, and you're
Yeah.
like, cool, you just lied about all of that.
Yeah, because I think we all knew like the quiet girl in high school too that like loved getting fucked up on the weekends and drinking, but like it just didn't seem like it was that person's personality.
Right.
But then you realize like, oh, they have a crappy home life.
Yeah, you go to
et
like one
cetera.
party and like she's trashed in the
Yeah,
corner, and you're like, is
yeah.
she always like this? And everyone's like, yeah, that's
Yeah, and you're like, I've heard her say 3 sentences in the last 15 years. So, but underneath all of that, there's this constant theme of neglect.
anyways.
So she feels ignored. She believes her parents don't notice whether she's there or not. The school doesn't notice whether she's there or not.
No.
So she just creates this personality that makes it impossible for people to not look at her.
And she does a
And-
great job doing it.
And the scene where she's drawing, she's drawing this nice little, what is it, like a bridge or some scene. And then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's make it snow. And then she just scratches all of her dandruff off onto this piece of paper. It's,
She's so strange in
so
what is
strange.
the best way possible.
yeah, but it says a lot about her in there.
It does. And you can't forget Brian.
Never.
He received an F in shop class because he could not complete his lamp. It's hard for a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside's perspective, it sounds pretty minor, and just saying it out loud, it sounds pretty minor. But when your whole identity is built around perfectionism, one failure is quite catastrophic.
Yes.
So what does he decide to do? He decides to bring a flare gun to school because he was considering suicide, and it went off in his locker.
As flare guns do. Just
Yes.
sitting idly, they just go off willy-nilly.
Mid-locker. And the movie kind of presents that moment with some humor, which it's hard to find that humorous because that is pretty serious.
Yeah, because we didn't.
But
School
keep in
shootings didn't
mind,
happen back then.
yeah, A, this is the 80s, this is 85.
Yeah.
And B, this is Brian, who's this little nerdy guy. And, like he was going through it.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's trying to like be mean to him. They all take it pretty seriously for a second. And then they all remember that they're kind of stoned.
Yeah.
And they start giggling. And, Brian believes he has no value if he's not successful. And that's
Yeah.
really what it drives home. And you're able to really see like the intensity of that from him.
Mm-hmm. And then we get Bender's confession, which reframes a lot of his behaviors.
Because you would think that the flare gun would be one of the more intense
Right?
things that get
Yeah.
admitted. And it's somehow not.
Yeah. Bender ends up describing physical and emotional abuse at home. And the others think he's exaggerating. And then they're just like, yeah, sure, that doesn't happen.
Whatever.
And then Bender like pulls back his thing. He's like, you see this burn mark from a cigar? And that's when we realize like, oh, that was his dad that did that to him. And we find out that like, oh, Christmas morning, his dad gave him a carton of smokes and said, smoke up. So it's this moment that matters because the group finally realizes that Bender's home life is not just stricter than theirs. It's dangerous. It's just awful. I feel
It's
terrible for him.
You kind of understand why he accepted 2 more months worth of detention.
Yeah, because it gets him out of being at home.
Yeah.
It doesn't excuse anything that he's done.
No.
But it definitely helps explain why he assumes that affection is fake and authority is always abusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the characters, as the students, they start to learn like more and more about one another, they begin recognizing that each stereotype is very incomplete. Every character kind of carries these expectations imposed by parents, peers, and really themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They really are pressuring themselves a lot, which, they're high schoolers. It's pretty on par. I think the movie does a good job of really arguing that these stereotypes aren't totally true, that they're pretty false. They're just incomplete. Like, you can be popular and still not have a great home life. And Claire's really popular. Andrew really is an athlete, and Bryan really is smart, and Bender really is kind of a problem student. He won't sit still. And I think we can all agree Allison is very strange. But there's a lot more to each character.
Yes, yeah, exactly. The labels aren't entirely wrong. They're just way too small.
Yep.
You know,
There's more to the story.
Everybody is more complicated than that role that they're assigned. And that movie also shows that each role comes with a cost. So Claire has social power, but she doesn't really have freedom because she's controlled by her peers and her family. Andrew has strength, but he doesn't have any control over his own identity. That's all from coaches and his parents. Bryan has intelligence, but he believes that love has to be earned through performance. Which is, man, he's going to go through some therapy when he's older. Allison has all this independence, but we find out that her independence comes from isolation. And Bender acts fearless because admitting fear would make him vulnerable. So it really just, we learn a lot about these characters in this point.
It's such a pivotal point of the movie. And, you know, I think the most interesting question is whether the understanding one another for a single afternoon is enough to change everything. You know, like, can they really sit there, get to know each other from one afternoon, and that's a whole new side of them. The movie gives them this layer of empathy that they didn't possess prior to this, that, you know, without going to detention they would have never had. And it doesn't necessarily give them the courage to reject anything. They're still waiting to go back to school on Monday.
Because
back to normal.
That's the high school life, you know, like you have to go back to it. You have to go back to your friends. You still have to go back to everything.
You got 4 more years of it.
Well, I don't know. Do we ever find out like what year they're in or anything? I don't think that's ever mentioned.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they ever said anything about it.
So after becoming emotionally close, the students, they confront the uncomfortable question of, hey, are we going to become friends once detention ends? You know, and Claire admits that social pressure will likely pull them back towards their original groups. And I think she's right.
It's probably one of the more honest scenes in the whole movie. You know, you kind of want them to be friends in the end and like all group together and be like indefinite friends, but they're very realistic and they pretty much blatantly say no. The less complicated film would have made them best friends forever. And I think that's what makes it so pivotal, like such a big nail on the head.
Yes, because it's real.
It's so realistic.
It's not a Hollywood twist on a movie of like, here's the happy ending. No, it's just
like you had one good afternoon with the popular girl and now you're best friends. Like that's not going to happen. And you know, Claire says what everyone's thinking. At school, the social hierarchy, it comes first. Her friends will judge her and she's had those friends longer. Andrew's teammates will judge him. The experience matters, but that doesn't mean that they're like suddenly these new people free of their old lives.
Bryan gets upset because he believes that the connection should be enough. And emotionally, like, I understand him. He really wants this day to mean something permanent.
I mean, he did open up to a group of strangers.
Yeah. And like now, like him and Bender are kind of like okay terms. And like everyone is kind of on an even playing field a little bit at this point. And Bryan would love to keep it at that because he really likes keeping things, you know, level and not upset the waters. He just really wants this day to mean something. But Claire's the one who's being realistic.
Incredibly realistic.
Yeah, she understands the social machine better than anyone else in the room. She knows exactly how quickly people can be punished for stepping outside of their assigned roles. And what makes this scene powerful and painful is that Claire knows that her behavior will be cowardly.
She does admit that, and I will always give her the prop for that.
But she does not promise that she will be strong enough to change it. No. So she's very self-aware of her crappy behavior, but she's just accepted it.
She's committing to it.
Yeah.
You know, and she does kind of go out of her way. She does this little makeover towards the end of the tension. Claire gives Allison this whole makeover. You know, it's the moment where you remove some glasses and brush some hair and add some pink.
She's all that moment.
Of course. She takes the dark clothing away, gives her a whole new outfit, which I have no clue where they got this whole new outfit from.
From her bag.
They restyle her hair using what? No one knows. Throws on some makeup. Where'd she get that? Couldn't tell you. And then Allison steps out, and Andrew sees Allison in this whole new way. He reacts with this crazy romantic interest as if he's never seen her before.
Yeah. This is the unrealistic part of the movie.
100%. They went from like hitting it on the head to just like, oh yeah, we gotta remember that we gotta do something nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it's a fairly debated scene in the movie. It feels like a sweet moment. It's a little more complicated than that. You know, on one hand, Claire is being like very nice to Allison. She's being very caring, very helpful, helping her feel seen. And on the other hand, the movie visually transforms Allison into someone that's super conventionally feminine. And that's why Andrew immediately becomes attracted to her.
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. Like, the movie spends all this time arguing that people should not have to fit into categories, but then it gives Allison a makeover and changes her to fit her into a more acceptable category. And I don't think the intention was that Allison was ugly before. I think it was just the intended message that she was hiding herself.
Right? Like, she was really hiding behind her hair and her bangs, and she was always very reclused into herself. So it just felt like, you know, she just didn't want to be seen.
Yeah. The way this scene is presented can feel like she needed Claire's approval and a conventional appearance before she could be loved. But at the same time, Allison, she seems happy with the result. So I don't think this scene's completely empty. I think it's more complicated now than the movie probably made it out to be in 85.
Right.
You know,
Which it is a cute little girl moment. You know, they had their little moment where like they did the little makeover, and who doesn't love a makeover? But also, you know, it was a hard one.
Yeah.
But you know, you've also got this scene where Claire and Bender are getting together. As the tension comes towards the end, the most antagonistic relationship between Claire and Bender shifts into something really romantic, which I didn't see any build up for personally.
No.
Claire decides to go visit Bender in the closet because she just knows exactly which closet he's in, and she
just where he lives most
goes
of the time.
there. And she decides that she's gonna kiss him and give him one of her diamond earrings.
So romantic.
So romantic, sharing body joy.
Germs didn't exist in 1985.
No, they did not. And, you know, this is a difficult one to evaluate because there's been like a little bit of sexual tension with them, but like they've seemed so hateful towards each other. Bender's blatantly fascinated by Claire because she represents this whole other world of just comfort and acceptance and money that he's never experienced. And Claire's drawn to Bender because he behaves with freedom and he's a bad boy.
Mm-hmm. But Bender also treated her terribly.
Right? Like, that's where I'm like, I don't understand how they, like, get together.
Yeah.
Unless she just likes being treated like crap.
I don't know. It's also high school, too. So, like, he insults her. He sexually harasses her. He humiliates her. And, like, back then, I think it was kind of like, he must like you if he's picking on you.
He's pulling your pigtails. You must have a crush.
So the movie's decision to turn that into romance didn't age well. But you can understand the symbolic idea.
It's cute that they like couple up at the end. However, I don't love the way they did it.
The princess and the criminal.
Oh,
they see each other beyond their stereotypes. It's adorable. Healthy attraction should generally not require one person spending the entire day violating the other person's boundaries.
Just throwing that out there.
The earring, also very symbolic, right? Claire gives Bender something valuable from her world, and he puts it on, which suggests he's willing to carry a piece of her identity with him. Although I have a hot take on this, right? So
there's so many hot takes on this.
We're in the 80s, so Bender has one ear piercing because that's what was allowed. Otherwise, you're telling people about your sexuality somehow. So that's why he gets the one earring. My other thing is he's just putting it in there because he knows that it's worth money. And so if he needs to get bailed out, he's got something to pawn.
Like, that's the first thing he said whenever he called her out for he was like, those must be real diamond earrings. They're expensive. Like, and she just gave him one and kept the other.
Well, yeah, because she's going to go home and be like, oh, Dad, I lost it. And then he's going to buy her another one. So, and the diamond, it's visually memorable, right?
It is.
So whether the relationship lasts longer than this one afternoon, like, we don't know, but
it's
diamonds
high schoolers, so likely not.
So things are getting pretty serious.
One afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And, you know, as detention ends, Bryan decides to write the assigned essay on behalf of the entire group.
Oh, man, what a great detail.
What a little thing to add in there.
Yeah, like the nerd just being like, I guess I'll do everyone's work for them. So true. I've done so many group assignments.
And he kind of got like roped into it. Like Claire was like, you could just like write this essay for all of us. We shouldn't all have to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, totally. After she says, yeah, I'm not going to say hi to you on Monday in the hallway. Don't expect anything.
But Bryan does a great job with this, right? He takes the whole point of it and he just twists it.
Oh, yeah. Bryan's great. I mean, they call him a brain. He's so incredibly smart. And he did a fantastic job twisting these words around to just really kind of stick it to Vernon in the end. Rather than giving Vernon 5 separate explanations, he describes how Vernon sees them instead and how they've come to understand themselves.
Yeah,
which is
deep.
It's a good little moment.
It really is.
It really wraps it all up nicely with a bow. The essay just perfectly sums it up. It's everything the movie built towards in the end. And Vernon asked them to explain who they think they are. And Bryan answered. They're all more than one thing. Each of them contains a piece of every label.
Absolutely.
It was a really cute little essay.
And it's significant, again, that Bryan writes it. He's the character that's the most comfortable expressing things in the approved academic format.
Wonderful essay.
Yeah,
writer.
and I love that he uses his intelligence. He usually only uses the intelligence to like please authority, but here he's got the balls to challenge authority.
It's like the most malicious compliance. Like, I'm doing the essay,
yes,
but also not really.
Also, fuck you.
Yeah.
So it really gives the group like a shared voice, and they all sign it as the Breakfast Club rather than their own individual names. Now, at no point in this movie had this ever been discussed. Where that name came from, I don't know. Because they didn't share breakfast together.
They only had lunch together.
Yeah. Super weird.
And it's not like they were like, yeah, we're going to hang out for breakfast every day before school.
Yeah.
Like, at no point does breakfast ever get brought up.
But for this one afternoon, at least, they created an identity that belongs to them rather than one imposed by teachers, parents, classmates, etc. And that's beautiful. I love that.
So cute.
So the students end up leaving the school and they separate outside. Detention's over.
Time to go home.
Alice and Andrew, they share a kiss. Claire gives Bender the earring right before joining her father. Bryan watches everyone leave, and then Bender walks alone across the football field. But he's pretty happy about it. His day went better than he planned. So, yeah,
the
final scene, like, it's amazing.
And the departures are hopeful. There's a general sadness underneath it all. They shared something so real, and they just immediately returned to separate cars, separate families, separate lives, and nothing outside of the library has really changed at all.
Not a bit.
Just their understanding of one another. That's it.
And Bryan's the one left carrying the essay. It feels appropriate. He's kind of the keeper of what happened that day. So everyone else gets romantic endings, and
he
gets responsibility of putting their experience into words. He just becomes the person who makes sure that the day is not forgotten.
Which is really sweet when you think about it.
Yeah.
And you get that final scene. You get
Bender
walking across the football field alone with his little diamond earring in, and don't.
Yeah.
Starts playing loud, and he raises the one fist in the air, and it freezes on him, and then it's end credits.
Yeah.
It's like the most iconic ending ever. I think everyone can imagine it mentally.
You can see that fist bump.
Even in the comments. Don't you forget about me? Is
look at that. We're having a sing along in the comments.
You know it.
Get it, Rob.
And he's walking home alone.
Yeah.
But it's like you're kind of rooting for him at the end there. It's cute.
Yeah, I feel like this image, it celebrates him, but all the circumstances remind us that his life has not suddenly been fixed.
Nope, he's still walking home alone at the end of the day.
He did have a little perk in the day, and that's why the ending works.
He got a little smooch.
Yeah, the day mattered. The friendships mattered. The movie never promises that all of their problems disappeared by any means. Bender's home's still abusive. Bryan's parents still going to expect perfection. Andrew's father's still going to be a dick who pressures him. Claire's friends are still going to control all of her choices. Allison's still going to be neglected and shunned. But they leave us with more understanding, not with magically improved lives. And that's one of the things I really love about this movie. Again, is it's one
of those realism factors.
It's so real. Yeah, it doesn't just be like, oh, everyone lives happily ever after. Everyone learns something. No, it's just that real high school experience of like, well, shit's just the way it is. But
Now
I guess
I know a
learned
lot
little
about
something.
these people.
Yeah.
Time to never speak to them again.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know what?
What?
It's time for fun facts.
Finally.
Yeah, I know. Do you want to go first?
Okay, I guess.
Okay.
So, writer-director John Hughes reportedly wrote the screenplay crazy fast. There's some accounts saying that it only took like a couple of days, and despite the fast writing process, the movie quickly became one of the most analyzed and quoted teen films like ever.
Yeah.
So
You got to give it to him. Like, for only knocking that out in a couple of days, he nailed it.
I mean, all he had to do was write a day's worth of content.
Yeah. But it's also so rare, too, to see like adults who can tap back into their youth and write
Incredibly.
teenage characters. Because I feel like that's really hard to do. And he nails
It's
it.
so hard to write a teen character. There are so many terrible examples and so few good examples of like true teenager development.
Yeah.
Teens are just so hard to read.
Yeah.
They're
John
all
Hughes,
over the place.
he did it a lot, too. Like, that was kind of his thing. And then he gave us, the masterpiece that is Home Alone. So it's great. Anyhow, this movie, it's great. Another fun fact, the movie was filmed at Maine North High School, which was in Illinois. Like I mentioned earlier.
Kind of a real place in Illinois.
Not Shermer High School. It was in Illinois, but Shermer, not a real place. This school was already closed before production began. And they filmed everything in this high school except for the library. The library wasn't big enough for John Hughes. He really had this like vision in his head of this enormous library. So they went into the school's gymnasium and built a massive library set. And that's why that library feels like almost unrealistically huge.
Insane.
Yeah, it is like the biggest library, the nicest library for a high school ever. Like multi-stories.
It was making me feel
smoking
kind of
rooms,
crazy.
Like, yeah.
Because it was just so unrealistic. Like you would think it's a college library.
Yes.
There's multiple floors,
Yeah.
there's study rooms, there's carts everywhere. Like it's just not a high school library by any means.
Yep. He went out of his way to design it really specifically to keep this one main location very, very interesting visually for the entire movie, especially because like the other scenes were just hallways and they were drab. And even though it's so focused on characters' development and their, what they're saying, but it still gives us that little bit of eye candy.
He did a good job with that. And, I read somewhere John Hughes encouraged the actors to contribute ideas the entire time, adjusting the dialogue when something didn't feel super authentic. The cast also spent time together during rehearsal, which helped with like chemistry building. So people very intertwined with each other prior to the movie. Several scenes contain improv or partially improv moments, especially the more emotional group conversations.
And you can feel it. Like, yeah.
It's hard. They were doing some really intense, like, long dialogue from one character at a time.
Yeah.
So, like, I can only imagine that you kind of got to improv a little bit of it.
A little bit, yeah. One of my favorite fun facts is that the janitor was originally supposed to be Rick Moranis.
That would have been wild.
Yeah. His version of the character reportedly used a very exaggerated accent and a much more comedic approach. And John Hughes, he just decided it didn't fit the movie. So
I'm
he
fine
replaced
with
him,
that.
with Carl, and that's what we got.
I love Carl.
Me too.
Carl felt so, like...
And we also find out, like, isn't Carl Bryan's dad?
They made that joke, but I think Brian got in a car with his dad.
I thought so too.
I think Carl and Brian are just, like, close, because...
I'll have to look this up, because now I'm curious. I guess in my head, I've always had the takeaway of, like, oh, that's his dad. But now you're right. It might not be. I don't know.
Like, he walked out past him and he was like, see you later, Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't call your dad by his first name.
Maybe it's just going to show that, like, the nerdy kid who's, like, outcast by everybody, he's still made friends with the janitor in high school. And, like, they're on a first name basis because they're the only two that will really acknowledge each other because they're both outcasts. That would probably make a lot more sense.
I'm feeling really called out now.
Same. I also was friendly towards my janitors.
Yeah, I was close with my janitor. Yeah. He was a cool guy, okay? He could always open my soup can.
Drew and I have actually always been really cool our entire lives. So we're like super popular.
Obviously.
We eat sushi for lunch.
That's why we're on the internet.
Yes, talking about 80s movies. All right. The soundtrack in this movie, so good. It is so 80s. Like we got
just
montages.
The most 80s soundtrack you can imagine.
Yes.
Don't You Forget About Me. And I think this is permanently associated with this movie.
I can't hear this song and not think about this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, initially, I don't think the band wanted to even record it. They preferred performing songs they had written themselves, and I think they eventually agreed. And it's one of their most famous songs.
Yeah, they almost made a real bad decision.
Sometimes you just gotta listen to what people want, man.
That's true. It's true. Let's see. Look, we got a thing here. Fun fact that someone dropped in the comments says Brian's family car says EMC2 on the license plate. Definitely the book smart Terry. That is funny.
Oh my god!
I never
didn't even
noticed
notice that. I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah. I'm always distracted by the fact that they're just Illinois license plates, and they're like the old school Illinois license plates. And I grew up in Illinois, so I like remember these, and then I just didn't look at what was on the license plate. Good fun fact. Thanks for dropping that. Fan theories?
Some fan theories?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing some digging, trying to find some interesting stuff on this one because this movie's been talked about, I think, at least a bajillion times. So, and I found one good question was whether or not Allison was actually assigned detention. We don't really know. Pathological liar Allison doesn't really give us a clear answer. She says she didn't do anything and that she simply had nothing better to do. Some people genuinely believe that she voluntarily came because she was lonely and just wanted to be there, even if she couldn't directly admit that, which I could kind of see.
I think that theory fits her character.
Right.
She wants connection, but she has no idea how to ask for it. So showing up to detention gives her access to a room full of people without requiring her to admit that she wants company. She can pretend it was super random, and that protects her from rejection. So I could see that. I think that plays out.
I can get behind it.
Yeah.
I would like to know if she did do something, but honestly, her going just for the sake of going makes sense.
I'm going to guess if she did get detention, she like skipped school or got caught smoking or something.
She was just like drawing through class and got detention because of it.
Yeah.
She was shaking her hair out, making it snow.
That's detention worthy.
It really is. It really is in high school. Yeah. I saw another theory as well that Bender could eventually become essentially a version of Vernon. The idea is that they're a little too similar. So Bender never gets help, never really escapes the cycle of abuse. His anger hardens into some bitterness. Bam, he's Vernon. Grows up resenting younger people because they remind him of him and his freedom, and that, he never really got his life together, so he's got to help these kids get their life together by being a hard ass.
That's a dark theory. I get the movie supports it, that Vernon and Bender are like reflections of one another's.
They're a little too similar to each other.
Yeah, like they both use hostility to control the situations. They're terrified of appearing weak. I think the only major difference is that Bender is still young enough to change, and Vernon has already decided that change is just not possible. So, I don't know. That's an interesting theory.
Right?
I hope that Bender did not turn into Vernon.
I hope he comes out the other side a little better.
Same.
But then, there's also the theory that none of the relationships survive Monday morning.
I am 100% behind that.
I'm 1,000% on it.
These were weekend relationships at best.
You got your little kiss on Saturday. You'll walk in Monday. They don't know who you are. Claire and Bender probably returned to their two totally different social worlds. Andrew kind of feels embarrassed about Allison because Allison didn't keep up with her makeover, and now his friends are watching. And the group never really has an opportunity to sit together again. So, under the interpretation, the essay is kind of the only permanent result of the day.
Yeah. But I don't think that makes the ending meaningless.
Oh, no. I think if anything, it kind of adds another layer of that is how the world is sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, connection doesn't have to last forever in order to change somebody. I think there's that what is that saying? Like some people are here for like a reason, season, or forever or something. And like I feel like these were relationships that were here for a reason, and they were very temporary, but they were impactful. So even if they never become like permanent friends or anything, they can no longer honestly believe the stereotypes about themselves that they believed that morning. They've seen behind that performance, and that knowledge stays with them.
I like to believe that when they go to college, they break away from these identities because of this moment.
Yeah. Well, there's a time and place for everything, and it's called college.
Exactly. The other interpretation is that the 5 characters represent different parts of one another rather than totally different students. So Brian, represents the intellect, athlete. body, princess, social identity, criminal represents anger and rebellion, basket case, isolation. And by the end, everyone's a little bit of all five.
Yeah, I think that fits the ending perfectly.
I mean, that's kind of how high schoolers are.
Yeah.
They're a little bit of everything because they don't really know who they are because
Yep.
they're in high school.
Yeah, and every human contains contradictions.
Oh, people are so multifaceted.
Yeah,
It's
like,
insane. And
we
no one
can-
wants to acknowledge it half the time.
Like you can be intelligent and insecure.
Yeah.
You can be popular and lonely. All of these things. Like the labels fail because we're never only one thing. But
Labels are
we're
just,
just challenging that authority.
not real. And, I think what impressed me the most is just kind of how little the movie relies on the entire plot.
Yeah.
The whole plot is it's kids in detention, but that's not really what you get through the movie. The entire dialogue, the characters, they all work really well. And yet it rarely feels boring. It rarely feels like you're watching people sit in a room.
Yeah.
And that's really what they're doing the whole time.
Yeah. Boring is not a word I would ever use to describe this movie.
No.
I think the movie earns its emotional moments because it doesn't rush them. Like it spends enough time letting us believe all these stereotypes before it rips them apart.
And it kind of forces you to just like sit with a bunch of questions for a very long time.
Yeah. So like, 40 plus years later, people still argue about these characters like they're real people. And that's super remarkable. Like this movie has had a lot of longevity.
So much. I mean, while it didn't age perfectly, it stayed so incredibly relevant.
Mm-hmm.
The romance is difficult. Allison's makeover is debated. Like the treatment of Brian's mental health is casual. And you like, we're still sitting here talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everybody wants to be seen as a complete person. Not a grade, not a sport, reputation,
We
et
all went
cetera.
through high school. We all know how brutal and terrible it is.
And I think that's why the movie is still relevant. Like as long as high school exists, this movie will be relevant.
Yeah.
But the clothing and the music, unmistakably 1985.
Oh, 1,000%.
Which
Not
is
to
the
mention the faces. Everyone's got their own unique face. That's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. What a great movie. I love
it's
this movie
awesome.
so much. So, yeah.
On the off chance you've never seen The Breakfast Club, it is a movie worth watching. Even if you think you've seen it through references, you should still watch it. It's not just like a 80s classic. It is genuinely a good movie.
Yeah. One of the best.
Yeah.
We have a comment here. It says, the jock goes on to become the coach of the Mighty Ducks.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. The Quack Attack is back, Jack. And in the original screenplay, the characters went on to do a diamond heist because every movie in the 80s is about a diamond heist. Well, Bender did have that earring, that diamond one. There could have been a sequel.
This whole movie was a diamond heist. Bender, he started this
it was the long
interaction
con.
with the diamond.
Yeah.
He called her out for it immediately.
It was just the long con for him to get a diamond. I love it.
Knew it.
If it's been years since you watched this, watch it again. You're going to
Just one more
notice
time.
different things depending on where you're at in your life. If you're a teenager, you're going to identify with the students. As an adult, you might start noticing the parents and Vernon and all those systems around them. It's really the mark of a movie that sticks around for a reason. Like I tend to watch this movie like once every 3 to 5 years, and it resonates different with me every single time. But I think part of that is just the fact that I go to a lot of therapy. So I just learned a lot. Anyhow, this was a fun one.
It was.
I had so much fun talking about this movie. I love it so much.
I mean, this is the most 80s movie we could possibly do.
Absolutely. It's a great one
So-
for our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, 100%. It's been fantastic.
I was just going to do the little rant about be like, hey, did you know that we're with a jewelry company? But I'm guessing if you're probably still watching, you know this already.
You might.
If you didn't, check out the URL below us, jewelrythisway.com.
Pew, pew, pew,
We just make body jewelry, but we like talking about 80s movies, and we name all of our jewelry after 80s movies. So we have named some rings the Breakfast Club, which you'll see right above our heads now because we've moved down to the bottom. Whoa, magic. And these little rings are so cute.
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah, we can do them in 20, 18 gauge, 16 gauge. Thank you, Rob, for that happy 1 year. And it got a cool little prong set gem on the front of them there. We can do them in pretty much
So
every
many
color
colors.
available, different sizes. They're really cool. They're like a little Sebring style too, so they're still affordable. You're not getting
It's
that
one of our
Clipper
most
price
popular
range.
rings,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's a great price point. We've got 10% off on them if you use the coupon code above.
Which is the greatest coupon code we have ever had because it's the greatest insult from the movie.
Oh my God.
It is, you're a Neo Maxi Zoom Dweeby. No idea what that means. I think it was completely made up for this movie. I don't know where they got it, but it is our discount code. So use that at checkout. You're going to get 10% off those Breakfast Club rings. There's no limit. So
buy as many as you want.
Stock up for the year.
Mix and match sizes, mix and match gems, mix and match colors. Just buy a bunch of them. They're great.
Extreme
we love
Close-Up.
them.
That's a different movie, Rob. That is the 90s, but I do love Extreme Close-Ups. I should bring those back. I don't think I have that.
We used to have that sound.
We used to have
board.
that sound and like a little scene that popped up.
Oh,
that's probably what he's referencing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But these Breakfast Club rings, they come in yellow gold,
awesome.
rose gold, white gold. We can mix and match gold on the settings and the rings. Do all kinds of different gemstones on them.
Anything you
Sky's
want.
the limit. Yeah.
We make everything ourselves. So,
do.
you know, if you
Right
want to
here.
customize it all kinds of crazy, well, just tell us.
Yeah.
Do it.
We got you.
Yeah.
So, I think that brings us to the end of this one.
Right?
So this was super duper fun. We rambled for damn near an hour and 15
Oh
minutes.
my God.
This was our longest one we've ever
We
done.
haven't rambled this long in a long
Yeah.
time.
This is a good movie to do it about, though.
There's just a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
I feel like I could have talked for longer than the actual movie was if I was sitting here like watching it.
Oh,
and, there's so much commentary.
There are
to do.
notes that we didn't go over
Yeah,
because we've been rambling.
But yeah, super duper fun. We will be back here again next Wednesday at 3 p.m.
week.
as always.
And we'll have a guest next week.
Yeah, we will.
So you should tune in, see who that is. I think
Yes.
you're all going to be really
Yeah,
excited.
it's one of my favorite people in the industry. You're going to love it. It's going to be a
awesome.
really good time. There was
Yeah.
something else. We have a sweet nonprofit called the Heal This Way Foundation. 10% of all of our jewelry profits go directly into that nonprofit to provide free mental health support for body piercers. So if you are a body piercer or know somebody else that works in the industry that could use some mental health support or therapy, tell them to go to the healthiswayfoundation.com and we will hook them up with that and take care of the bill 100%. So, because we like y'all and we want you to be healthy.
You know, piercers helping piercers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's it.
That's all.
That's all of it. Get your
Sweet.
new little mini displays. They're awesome. This is two of them. And then, yeah, get some cool jewelry on sale.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's do our ending.